This channel is for educational purposes only. Make sure you do your own due diligence before making any investments. And there is inherent risk in trading, so it's speculative. Just make sure you keep that in mind. Hi, everybody. It's Joe. Hope you have been checking out my new show on stockcharts.com. It called Stock Talk. Been doing a lot of analysis on individual stocks on there. So if you have an interest, check it out. It comes out on Thursdays. And so anyway, keep an eye out for that. So the one came out yesterday. Let's go ahead. We're going to talk about the S&P and the QQQ and maybe look at a few other things. The sentiment numbers have gotten up into a little bit more of a dangerous territory. The bulls are over 60% now. And the difference between the bulls and the bears is up around 45%. It's definitely in the more dangerous territory. So we should be on the lookout for signs of a reversal. If we go and look at the SPY, the first thing that when I look at this and talking to my institutional clients, the first thing I think of when I look at this is look at how far this is jetted away from the 18-month line. It's definitely at risk of a pullback. Now, does that mean it's going to turn around right now or it's going to come crashing down? No, but we have pullback risk right now on the monthly chart. If we go to the weekly, so there's a combination here. You're extended on the monthly chart, and then if we go to the weekly, we have now pushed higher. And as I mentioned last week, what bothered me is that we're pushing higher, but we're not getting MACD confirmation or ADX. So ADX is still below 25, even though we're at a new high. It's not really moving up. Green DI is below 25 still. It's at 24.27. And I'm going to zero in on this MACD. Look at what MACD is doing. So we've gotten a little pinch to develop underneath the signal line. So I refer to this as a divergent pinch play because even though you're going to a new high, you're creating this pinch pattern. And if we look at the price, it has made a higher bottom, another higher bottom, and now this here. We're going to have to see. It hasn't actually triggered on the weekly chart. The trigger would be taking out a prior bar's low. So if it makes it through today, Friday, it doesn't take out last week's low, then next week you're looking forward to see if next week takes out this week's low. And that would be a trigger as long as the MACD never confirms and it stays underneath its signal line. So just something to be on the lookout for. Now, we don't have, ideally, I like to look at multiple time frames and I like to look for signals that are taking place based on the lower time frame to kind of trigger me in. I don't know that I really have that. If I draw on a trend line, I kind of have to draw the trend line in down, off of these bottoms down here. You could do it like that. You could do it like that. Either way, you're getting the same result. You haven't broken the trend yet. One thing that I will say is that even though we're at a dramatic new high after a big run to the upside, ADX could only get to 25. So this could be the makings of a reversal. We want to be on the lookout for a reversal. When you go to new highs and ADX does not confirm by making a move above 25, then you want to be on the lookout for a reversal. I would probably be watching to see if we take out a weekly low, probably next week at this point. But you never know. Maybe tomorrow the market gets roughed up. The other thing that I've been talking about for a few months now is taking out a monthly low. We haven't done it in a long time, but if you notice the way this is moving up, really narrow range-ish, not a lot of momentum behind these bars. You had one good bar here, and then we've had a doji bar that had no upside progress really, and then another upside move that didn't have a lot of follow-through, and it's a tiny bar. And so far this month, early in the month, but so far not a lot of upside progress. So we'll just have to see if we get some selling to continue. Most of the time when we've had selling, it only lasts a day or two, and then it gets right back up and going. based on everything we're seeing, especially in the MACD and the ADX on the weekly, the probabilities of a test of the 18-week line down at 415, something like that, I think is becoming a higher and higher probability. So these are the types of things I think we want to be on the lookout for. If I look at the hourly, I don't have a cohesive kind of signal yet. I mean, red has crossed over. The red DI has crossed over, and we're starting to show some signs of a little bit of selling there. But look at the volume action. I mean, the closes are actually positive on these big bars, meaning we're closing above the open. That's why we're getting green bars here. So it's not definitive. I like to see big red elephant bars, like big monster red bars down with big volume to show you that signs that are really signs of distribution. And we just don't have that yet at this point. Let's switch over to the QQQ. Same sort of situation, although I will say on the weekly chart that MACD has crossed over its signal line. We do have a crossover signal. Now, it's making a lower low still at this point, but the fact that it's crossed over its signal line, I think is a little bit more encouraging. And it makes me feel like there's probably some support here around 340, 342, where these prior peaks are. Still saying the same thing that I've been saying, which is, we want to evaluate the price action on the way down and see if we see some sellers to show up. We're starting to see the daily chart. Let me just zero in on the daily. The daily chart has this first time you made a higher high in red DI in a little bit. We were making lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and now we just made a higher high. So I like to see a higher low and then a higher high. So we might need to make a higher low now and then turn up from there to really be a convincing sign that we're going to go through a contraction phase in this index. But you can see it looking at the daily price action. There's pretty good support down 339, 340, 342, something like that. So how it gets there, do we get big volume selling, stuff like that? This bar closed above its open. So we have a green selling bar. We don't really have a distribution bar here. So we're on the lookout for that type of thing. Not a big change on the hourly. I mean, we got some selling in terms of the red DI crossing over. MACD is pulling back to the zero line, but it's not really that definitive. We know we've got a little bit of a trend line break in the short-term trend, but I don't want to get too mixed up on the hourly right now based on what I'm seeing on the higher time frames. I don't think I want to jump on this hourly quite yet. I could see a pullback taking place, but I kind of want to see a little bit more signs of distribution on the daily chart. The only other, I'm going to look at the Russell just because every single time this attempts to get up into this up toward, and it looks like it's going to break out, it sells off, and now it's dropping back down into this support zone. I don't think there's any change going on in this pattern, but because the MACD crossed down and it's working its way down, I think this needs to get a little closer to the zero line before this is going to be really ready to go on this Russell 2000 index. The only other thing I wanted to point out as a follow-up is that the 10-year rates have now broken these support lines that I had drawn in before. We're below these lows. It's a little disturbing. I don't think that's a good sign, generally speaking, in the near term. I don't know that it's the end of the world, but in the short term, I think it might be a little bit of a negative, maybe create some headwinds. And when you put that together with the sentiment, just the fact that the MACD and the ADX on the S&P aren't really confirming here, that we could be in finally for some kind of a real pullback that at least come back and touch back to the 18-week line. I mean, we haven't done that in a very long time. The last time was way back in March. So, I mean, we should at least come back and test that line. If we do it from this standpoint, we'll probably end up breaking it and working our way back down towards this prior area of support. So anyway, these are all different things you need to keep an eye on. But the main thing that I'm watching right now is these prior bars lows on the weekly chart based on the fact that the MACD has not crossed over on the spider. Post any questions or comments, and we'll see you next time.